First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you very much for joining us. We are live streaming here at the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, as we do here every weekday. I wanted to show you this here. There is a shot of Portland from our Shriners camera, and in case you didn't know, there are buildings and landmarks within this image right here, this live image, that are now part of a Monopoly board that you can play. Yes, there is a Portland Monopoly board, finally, that is out. We're going to talk about that here on this segment, and we are joined by one of the people who works for the company that created this. I believe his title is a Monopoly manager. I may have that correct. Aaron Green joining us right now. Aaron, great to have you here on the show. Thanks for being here. Is that the correct title for you?
Greg, thanks for having me. Beautiful day here in Portland, by the way. And yes, I manage making new editions of Monopoly all over the country. And Portland was our latest edition, launched yesterday.
Okay, I want to know just about you. How does one get into that kind of a position, that kind of a job? Like, what's a day in the life of a Monopoly manager?
I'm actually an Oregonian, but I live in Southern California. And one day I was on the freeway sitting in traffic, like you do in Southern California. And a LinkedIn recruiter said, we need to start making more games on the West Coast. We need someone with this kind of experience. And I started chatting with them, and a few weeks later, started a whole new career making board games for a living. And honestly, it's been 4 years now, and I couldn't be happier. I love it. I get to go to really cool cities, talk to really cool businesses and local leaders about what's important to them, what should be on a game representing their city. And here we are, and Portland was the latest.
That is awesome. So when you decide on a city, well, actually, let's start at the beginning. You know, what made Portland be the one that was chosen here for this board?
Well, there was a little bit of gap in the Northwest, and so we hadn't done one up in this area. We had done a Boise edition a couple years before. Portland, perfect size city, a lot of pride. Obviously, the ideas of, keeping Portland weird, but people are proud to be where they're from. And, Portlanders have this sense of like, this is home, and they carry that throughout the country when they travel, and they protect it. And so it made total sense. Great businesses, great local nonprofits, great retail stores. And so we know it was going to sell well. We know that we're going to be a lot of people that wanted to be on it. And that's what we're experiencing already with retail sales flying off the shelves in just 24 hours. And so it was really a no-brainer. Then for me, it was like a little bit of a homecoming. Grew up in Eugene, went to Oregon, go Ducks. But the little homecoming to come to Portland and make this board game. And the things that I remember as a kid and a teenager doing up here in Portland, going to OMSI, things like that you'll see on the board. And so it was kind of a little passion project too, but it had to make sense commercially for Hasbro to rubber stamp the project.
So for you, for something like this, being from Portland or being from Oregon, did you feel some pressure, any pressure at all on getting, this all correct as far as some of those different landmarks, like you mentioned, things like OMSI?
Yeah, there was a little bit of pressure, and it's really difficult. There are only 22 properties on a Monopoly board. So something great is going to get left off the board. It always happens, no matter where you go. And the goal is to get as close as you can. When people open the box for the first time and look at that board, we want a feeling of, oh, of course that place is there. Of course that. I took my kids there. I had a first date there. Maybe you broke up with your significant other there. You have some kind of memory of the game that brings you back to a different place in time. And that's why we do these city editions. And so there was a lot of pressure. It's a great question because you want to do right. There's also a component where, it's Hasbro. It's the most famous playing board game in the world, most played game. There is a significant commercial cost to produce these. And so we have to line that up as closely as possible with what game players are proud to see, but also to make it economically viable to produce and to manufacture and distribute.
When you were doing this, I know that you took some submissions in from people, right? Is that correct?
Oh, hundreds and hundreds, Greg. We were in town maybe 10 months ago and went on the news and put our email out there and said, Portlanders, tell me what you want to see on the game. And voila, we had hundreds, almost 1,000. And people saying, where they had ice cream to different parks and the waterfront and memories and things like that. There was no shortage. In fact, that's the hardest part, is now curating that board and whittling it down to 22. But you Portlanders told me what should be on the game, and then my job is go visit with everyone and talk to everyone and make that board game, which we saw yesterday and is out today. But the curating part, yes, I love my job. I get to make Monopoly for a living, but it gets really difficult because some folks aren't always as happy as we want them to be. But that's just the nature of making a game with a pun intended finite amount of real estate.
Yeah, I mean, it actually is. Yeah, and you mentioned, wait, how many submissions did you say that there were?
Nearly 1,000, over 900.
Wow, over 900 submissions of different places, landmarks, all of that around Portland. Do you know, and I'm just guessing here, I don't know if we have these numbers, but like what were the most popular ones that had to be on there?
The most popular one, OMSI, most popular because it spans every demographic, every age. You went on a field trip there as a kid, and now maybe you're taking your kids there. And then I would say, I don't know one or two, but Oaks Park, those two were by far the most.
Those were the biggest ones by far.
Yeah, then you have a place like Huber's Cafe, incredible Spanish coffee, family owned for over 100 years. Super great tradition. And so you had places like that too. And then you had different parks. You had Multnomah Falls, which obviously outside of the city, but Portlanders go there on a nice little day trip. So the ideas were endless, which makes, once again, building that board really difficult.
Yeah, but I can only imagine how difficult that would be. So what's the feedback been like so far since this has been out?
Feedback so far, we have retailers already putting in their second orders. So that's incredible, right? And we knew that was going to sell well. That's part of the reason we picked Portland, but it's hard to have an exact science of, where to put games, where they're going to sell, how many to produce. But so far, so great. There are notable things that aren't on there, which we have not had people say. There are difficult conversations and agreements and image rights and licensing, things like that. Which is some of the things we may not see on there. But our goal is, let's focus on all the good that's on that game board. And when you land, you have some kind of emotion or feeling, whether it's good or bad, but you have one. And that's what we're trying to evoke.
It's all about that emotion. Yeah, having that emotional feeling about it. Well, okay. I mean, I have to ask, and you obviously do not have to say, if you were to make a second version of this, what would maybe be some of the other landmarks or locations that would show up on there?
Greg, that is a tough question. You know what? Great question, because one I do not get asked, because it is a one-time deal. We'll refresh the board, maybe make an anniversary edition in 10 or 20 years from now. Being a basketball fan, I had conversations with different, I will say, professionals. Basketball team in town I would have loved to see on the board, as well as soccer. But once again, those conversations get really complicated with the leagues that govern their image and their logos. And so, that would have been great. But once again, let's focus on Elephant's Delicatessen, right? Go buy a game there. Go get lunch there. So, but of course, there are things that I personally would have wanted to see as well. It just doesn't always work out that way.
Well, and as you mentioned, I mean, going back to what you said, and no pun intended, limited real estate. So there's only so many things, and there's a lot of great things there that did show up. Well, anything else that you think is important just for everybody out there who's now maybe going to be going to pick up, a Portland Monopoly board, or getting ready to play it, that you would want them to know?
The main thing I want people to know, Monopoly doesn't have to take 3 days. If you're taking 3 days to play the game, you're playing it wrong. It shouldn't even take 4 hours. It should take 90 minutes. Put a timer on. The main thing, Greg, people don't do enough is they land on a property and they don't buy. Well, there's no point in playing the game if you don't buy. You also can trade and you can barter. And so it can speed up the game. And if you're getting kind of to your wit's end and that timer is getting close, just start doubling the price of rent. And so bankrupt your opponents a little faster.
There we go. Some tips on top of it. So if you land on Mount Tabor, double the rent. Double the rent.
Double the rent.
Well, Aaron, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. And definitely exciting to see all of that on that board, and also awesome to learn about your job and what it is that you do. going around there.
Thanks
as a
again,
Monopoly
Greg.
manager.
Everyone go out and buy Monopoly Portland Edition. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. And for everybody who's watching us here live, thanks for joining us. This is Fox 12 Now, and we've been going here throughout the afternoon. We start at 1 o'clock. We continue on. If there's breaking news, we'll have that as well. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back here in just a couple of minutes with more. And as I mentioned, Greg Nibbler, Fox 12 Now.